So when we do these mocking the mocks, we generally have positive things to say. And it's like we respect the work that all these draft nicks, all these writers put in, because it is a really grueling process. Plus, I mean, it does take a lot to put yourself out there, especially opening yourself up for criticism, because mock drafts are like a-holes. Like, everyone's got one, and people are generally a-holes when it comes to mock draft stuff, because there's zero chance X, Y, Z happens. But yeah, okay. But this one, all right. So this is via CBS Sports HQ. Ryan Wilson does this thing. Now, I generally really like Ryan's work, but I mean, this one, head scratcher. We'll say it's a head scratcher for the Vikings. So let's get into it right away. So first off, 22. Now this one does have trades, except the Vikings don't move around in rounds 1, round 2, round 3. This is a day 1, day 2 mock, by the way. Recently up at CBS Sports. We'll include the link in the description. So Justin Jefferson. Now we've talked about how I'm a little bit more reserved on Justin Jefferson, again, specifically for the Vikings. Now, if you're doing just a blank slate, big board, sure, Justin Jefferson, maybe wide receiver 4, maybe even wide receiver 3 for some people here. But specifically for the Vikings, and because Adam Thielen is such a monster in the slot, I do have Jefferson lower than a lot of people do, as well as I legit wonder if Justin Jefferson will be able to get off of NFL press coverage. I'm very concerned about that, especially sort of a one-year wonder. When he played outside at LSU on 2018, primarily on the outside, he did struggle. But 2019 was absolutely boom. But of course, he had the Heisman Trophy winner. Of course, he had the hottest name in offensive coaching, Joe Brady, who's now the offensive coordinator of the Panthers. So you do wonder how much of it was that, how much of it was also Jamar Chase. By the way, that sort of helps. That does sort of help things, right? For also he had. So I go in 21 to the Eagles, where I wouldn't mind if the Vikings took him over Jefferson, but of course, we've talked about my love for Jalen Reagor, as well as guys like Mims and Pittman and Chenault and Hell Higgins even on board here, which is why we've highlighted the wide receiver. I mean, could be the position, maybe should be the position that the Vikings can pass on early, because there is so much talent that is going to accumulate day 2 at wide receiver. That does this seem like a bit of a reach? I mean, a little bit. It does. And then also you have other positions that aren't quite as deep as a wide receiver and are more top-heavy, a la offensive tackle, a la cornerback, that you're going to miss out on. And we'll get into that. So Jefferson on the books, 22 to the Vikings. Next up, 25, Hefe Gladney. Now, I love this pick. I'm glad that they decided to go corner here. And we've talked about, for us, it's Gladney and Jalen Johnson and Christian Fulton are about on the same par in terms of the second tier of cornerbacks behind Kuda and Henderson. Also, Gladney was a 4th cornerback off the board. I believe that A.J. Terrell went a little bit earlier in this draft. Actually, let's check. Yeah, went 19 to the Raiders. And now at 25 here, it is nice to check the boxes. You got your wide receiver, you got your cornerback, you're good to go. But also, since he has Ezra Cleveland going at 26, like in this universe, he doesn't see Ezra Cleveland as a reach in the first round. So, I would have preferred Gladney as well as Ezra Cleveland in the first round over Gladney and Jefferson, mainly because once you get away from offensive line early, it's really tough to catch up, and you'll see this play out as we go in the rest of the draft. So day 1 is done. Thursday night is done. You got Jefferson, you got Hefe Gladney coming on in. There you go. So next up is Justin Madubuike, so coming in second round, 58 overall. I love this one. I absolutely love this one. Kid is a massive disruptor, come in at that 3-tech spot and really bring a little bit of freshness to the interior defensive line for the Vikings. I think it's close to BPA at this stage of the draft. Jordan Elliott, I believe, is still on board as well. So it's just a matter of preference and flavor. But, I mean, I love it. I absolutely love this pick at 58. But it's with the caveat that I love it in a vacuum, but also don't love it because the Vikings missed on offensive line early on. And yes, drafting for need keeps you drafting for need. And Madubuike does make a lot of sense here at 58. But you're coming out of round 1 and 2, and you still haven't picked up an offensive lineman. Like, it gets thin in a hurry, especially at offensive tackle. You can certainly wait for interior offensive line, but you're going to see that the Vikings just absolutely missed the boat. But yeah, guys like Prince Daguanogo, you see going on the next pick to the Seahawks. Now, I wouldn't necessarily have been as thrilled about that since Bonogo does project to be a project at the next level. Probably should be sitting at least a year as that swing tackle before he steps up into the starting lineup. But also on board, you have guys like Nathaniel Moody on there. You have Jonah Jackson, who's a perfect scheme fit for the Vikings. So if the Vikings did go Jefferson and Gladney in the first round, I think second round, even with Matabuke on board, doesn't make sense to press a little bit on offensive line. That's tough. I love Matabuke though. Next up, into the third round, so A9 overall. Vikings continue on the defensive line. They pick up Khalid Kareem, who is the other Notre Dame defensive end, not named Julian Okwara. So I think it's fine. It's solid, all around decent edge. Like doesn't really have the as high of a ceiling as you would think. Does have a decent floor though. Good versus the run. Certainly could develop a couple more pass rush moves under Andre Patterson. But, I mean, if we're going to throw a dart and an edge guy, we want the dude with the highest ceiling possible. That's why here I would have preferred Travis Gibson, who ended up going 102, I believe. At 102 to the Steelers. So even though I like it, I understand it. Going in that position there, I would have gone with the dude with a higher ceiling, but certainly with the lower floor at this stage of the game. But also, you're doubling down on defensive linemen already. You still haven't touched O-line, and it gets pretty dicey. It does get pretty dicey. But now, Vikings fans, Minnesotans will rejoice. So Vikings get on the board, offensive line, Ben Barsh at 105. I like him a lot. Obviously had a great Senior Bowl. A local kid, local prospect coming out of St. John's. But I would have much preferred him as being a doubling back, a second banana offensive lineman in this draft. Because him being the first offensive lineman for the Vikings, there's going to be big pressure to contribute right away. Like the Vikings do need to come out of this draft with at least one starting caliber offensive lineman. And if Barsh is going to be pushed in before he's ready, may not be great. I mean, may cement in some bad habits, may do this, may do that, may give him a little bit of shell shock if he's shelled early on. I don't know. But I don't think he plays low enough to play guard. Plus, I don't think that you necessarily want to start him day one at left tackle, kick Reef inside. So I think you may have just signed your death warrant that Pat Elflein could be starting again for the Vikings. Because who's going to supplant him? Under the assumption that Drew Samia is going to be the starting right guard. Is it Oli Udoh? Maybe. Brett Jones? Probably not. Dakota Dozier? Probably not, because we know how the staff feels about Jones and Dozier. So this would frustrate me. Don't get me wrong. I love the Barch pick, but it would frustrate me that he is the first pick. So I would have much preferred if they went Jonah Jackson in the second round, went a different direction at the top of the third, then get Ben Barch. Then I think that does solve a lot of issues. Or Nathaniel Moody in the second round as well. Or you could have just solved this thing altogether, took Ezra Cleveland in the first round, and then pushed this down, picked up a wide receiver in the third round, as end of day 2, beginning of day 3 is going to be much more rich in terms of wide receivers, especially week 1 contributing wide receivers, when it did feel like there was a little bit bunched up there in the top of round 1. So, I love the Matabuke pick. I love the Gladney pick for sure. I'm not crazy about the wide receiver, again, stylistically, as well as I don't know how well he projects to the NFL level. I hate it until the Vikings waited until 105 to go O-line. And on top of that, you drafted a raw, certainly high ceiling, but certainly raw, unproven, kind of dicey if you can contribute week 1 offensive lineman. Also, not wild about the edge rusher Kareem. So, overall, if the Vikings came out of day 1, day 2 like this, I would have issues. And frankly, I don't think fans would be that excited about it, and probably rightfully so. The Vikings do have a phenomenal opportunity here with 2 first-rounders, 5 picks in the top 105. But yeah. All right, your thoughts. CBS Sports HQ, a mock draft. Let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. If you want to support the work, pull us on the Venmo. Let's give us a follow on social media as well. But until next time, Skull, production value.